Alright, so tonight in this video I'm going to be changing the transmission fluid. I'm going to be changing the rear differential fluid and replacing part of the shifter. There's a shifter bushing. There's a shifter bushing, and the original one is made of plastic, and over time it chips and it cracks and it gets real kind of sloppy. So what I noticed with my shifter the last time I was at track and with the tranny and differential is everything was kind of real sloppy. Even for a Miata, you know, it's a 14-year-old Miata at this point, so it's pretty sloppy. Shifting was pretty chunky, and so I'm wanting to change the fluids. So this is a solid brass bushing, which replaces that plastic piece. It's called a cup bushing. Sits at the very bottom of the shifter and connects to the transmission. And so this brass bushing sits at the bottom of the shifter where it connects into the transmission, and it's what moves, you know, back and forward, left and right. And this thing will, you know, never wear out as compared to that plastic piece. So it's just a real solid piece. I got it from 5X Racing. It was $30 shipped, and you know, I got it in 2 days. So those guys are good, and got a nice little sticker here that I'll slap on the toolbox. And so what I'm doing is full synthetic oils. You know, everybody knows Redline. They make really great oils, and MT90 GL4 is what this transmission requires, and so that's what I'm going to be using for the tranny. I got 2 of those guys here, and then of course the Mobile one 7590 for the rear diff, and that's a full synthetic as well. So should be good, and I'm sure these fluids haven't been changed in a while in this old car, so should make a big difference. So I'm going to start with the rear diff, and then I'll move on to the transmission, and I'm not going to be breaking the fill bolt. I'm just going to do the drain, because I'm just going to be able to dump this thing in after I remove the shifter and just dump it right into the transmission, which makes it a little easier on me. So I'm going to start doing that now. Alright, so here it is. Here's the shifter. You can see the outer boot was completely blown out. You know, of course, there's supposed to be the rubber that comes up and surrounds the top of the shifter as you're shifting, and that's completely torn. Try to get some better light here, and you can see it's completely torn, falling apart. So I took that out. I bought a replacement for that, so that'll go in. And then here's the lower boot, which keeps the transmission fluid from coming out, and that is completely blown out as well. And so this whole thing is just a mess, as you can see. Now this is interesting too. I said before my shifting was real soggy, just wasn't crisp at all, and you can see that this plastic cup bushing is chipped, and also there's a crack. I don't think I can get any closer than that, but there's a crack up the middle, so it's really just soft and soggy. I'm kind of surprised this thing held together, and I guess that plastic piece is somewhere down in my transmission, which is not great. But so there it is. I now need to drain the transmission fluid out of this thing, and then I'm going to just kind of reassemble everything. Got to put the new lower boot back on, and then get this outer boot on, and of course replace that cup bushing with that brass one that I have, and put it all together, drive it down the road, and see how it does. So here we go. Okay, so I got the transmission fluid drained. It was pretty ugly, pretty black. The magnetic drain plug had a bunch of really fine shavings on it, which I expected. You know, no big chunks of metal or anything like that. That would show me that the transmission's going, so that's good. And so here I am with the Redline MT90, and it's going in. This thing takes 1.9 quarts. I'm gonna put in you know, just under both, and call it good. And this way too, going into the shifter, shift turret, is a lot easier than getting the fill plug and getting a hose and, you know, squeezing it in or pumping it in from below, because that fill plug is right next to the exhaust and it's really up in there pretty tight, so it's hard to get at. So this is, even if you weren't messing with the shifter, this is the way that I would do it, because it's easy to get to. You know, everything's easy to take apart in here. So this fluid looks much better than the stuff that I drained out. So I'm hoping between the shifter cut bushing upgrade and this new fluid, I'll have some nice crisp shifts. Okay. I just got back from a trip to Mississippi, about a 8-hour trip, round trip, and I can tell you that the shifter is much improved. Between that cut bushing, the lower shift boot, and that upper boot, you know, the cut bushing being cracked and the boots being all torn up, the shifting was just really shitty. And you know, when I was racing, I couldn't get into 5th gear and 6th gear, and so now, and knowing that the fluids are synthetic now, that makes me feel pretty good. But the shifting itself is just much better. And before, what I'd have is a lot of slop and a lot of play in the knob itself. It would just kind of jangle all over the place, and in 6th gear it would go up and down and kind of side to side. And now it's much firmer, and the gate is nice and smooth, and so I'm pretty happy with the change.